So I know some of you have been waiting for a video on a wrap-up of how my hatching season went. And the last chicks went out the door this past weekend. So now I gotta clean this up. And figured it'd be a good time to just kind of go over how everything went and what things I should have done different. So let's start off with the round incubators. There's a video I did called Old School Incubators, and what happened with them? Well, I bought brand new wafers for them, fired them up, tested them out, and they ran good. They were holding temperature. Started using them, and that one went down. I suspect the coil that the heat comes off of in the top of the lid went bad. So that would put me down to one incubator. Now the problem is at that time I was gathering eggs continually. And when you've got one little incubator like this, and you're trying to put eggs in, turn the eggs, and then, 3 to 4 weeks in, when your chickens or ducks are starting to hatch, you're supposed to not mess with this at all. But you still got to open the lid because you got eggs in there you got to turn, and it was just disastrous for the hatching. Combine that with the fact that when we finally paired up the ducks, about a week later, we had a huge snowstorm, and the ducks just walked up the snow drifts out of their pens and got commingled. So that put setting duck eggs on hold for like a month because I had to separate the drakes from the hens again, make sure they were clean and not crossbred. So then obviously, like I said, this wasn't working out. So I went back home and got the old redwood. This is my uncle's redwood. I've been using it for years now, and it's always been a pretty reliable machine. Well, it's also a very old machine. There's a stamp in it. I think it said it was manufactured in the 60s. And got it up here. My mom said that she'd been having issues with it last year. I fired it up to see what it could do, and I couldn't get it above like 70-80 degrees no matter what I did. So this heating section is shot. So that's what happened there. So I couldn't use that one. So then I'm sitting there debating, well, do I order parts and wait for them to get here, or do I look for another incubator? And I found this one for sale relatively cheap. Guy said it worked. I went to his house. He had it out in the barn, and even in that barn it was still holding temperature. I was like, this is great, I'll take it. Well, here's what's wrong with this one. If you look at the trays for this one, they've got a slot in here, and you put these little racks in, and what that slot's for is there's this piece that you move in and out, and that causes you to turn the eggs. Well, the trays in this other one don't have that, which tells me that this was built as a hatcher. This is what you put your eggs in when you want them to hatch. Okay? Another thing that clued me in with that is got this little divider here in the middle. Usually on bigger hatchers, at least what I've seen with commercial hatcheries, There's some sort of little divider. You put the eggs in one side, and then as the chicks dry off, they find their way over here, and it, in theory, I guess, keeps them from, preventing the other ones from hatching. So you can't put the trays from my other incubator into here and use them. Plus the wooden trays themselves are different dimensions. So then that put me right back to having to pull these trays and turn every single egg by hand. Multiple problems with that. Number one, by the time you get your trays done, the temperature's off in the incubator and it takes a little bit for it to get back up to temperature. Number two, your eggs are cooling off the entire time you got them out on the table and you are turning. And number three, every time you handle those eggs, you're clogging the pores with the oils and dirt on your fingers. And if they're cracked or something like that, you're just begging for a bacterial infection, which, we had a couple eggs explode in there this year. But it did hold temperature, and I did get it up to proper humidity. I don't know why I didn't realize it at first, but the whole entire bottom is lined with a metal tray. And I, for some reason, didn't put two and two together. That's the water tray. So I had like 5 or 6 different containers in the bottom of that thing for water. And I had to keep them full all the time. The other thing about them is a lot of the wire on these trays was all bowed out. No idea why. I don't know if the guy was putting peacock eggs on there and the weight was dipping it down, but I had to modify them. And there was one tray that was shorter than the others, which I didn't realize. But I made this cover for that tray, and then the plan was to use it to put the eggs in, and then the chicks couldn't get out. But as you can see, it doesn't quite fit, so you got to really squeeze it on there to get it to do it, and I can't do it without putting the phone down. Anyway, I abandoned this screen and then replaced it with the screen from the other hatcher. And that right there shows you just how much difference in dimension there was between the two. Now, when I did my hatching, I made nice little wire dividers in here, little compartments, so that I could keep the eggs separate as they were hatching, so I could toe punch the chicks. Well, I don't know what type of eggs these were designed for, but I will tell you that this is the tray that I built because it was missing a tray. And see, I put these nice sturdy runners down through the middle. But between putting the eggs in here, as you can see, maybe you can see, the sides of this thing, in order for it to fit into the slots in the incubator, had to be this tall. Now, if I would have shaved these down thinner, maybe I could have made the walls a little bit taller. I don't think it would have made as much of a difference, enough of a difference to be worth it. But as I found out with hatching the chickens, I had one come out that, as it pulled itself out, it was on its back, kind of sitting about like this, I reckon. Could not get itself turned over and stood up because the wires right here didn't have room of movement. And I ran into that with some of the other chicks. They couldn't stand up fully when they were ready to. So that was frustrating. So then, that chick that I just described had leg problems, ended up not able to save it. couple days later, the pheasants from that week's group were due to come off hatch. I said, you know what, I'm not going to do this problem with the legs again. I'm going to take the cover off. Well, the first one that hatched out and dried off came over, hopped out, drowned in the bottom of the incubator. So out of that bunch, I got one chick because I put the screen back on. And that is kind of how this whole thing's gone this year. My hatching has been very minimal, very few and far between. I don't remember the exact number of eggs off the top of my head, but between my hens and the incubators, I incubated close to 500 eggs this year, and between power outages, equipment problems, weather, etc., 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 we ended up with, I can actually tell you off the top of my head probably, about a dozen bantams, 3 Polish, 4 game chicks, 7 pheasants, and 4 ducks out of all those eggs. So it was not a good year, and the worst part about it was I had 2 times where I only had 1 chick hatch, and the week prior and the week after nothing hatched, which then forced me to have to go buy chicks to put with that singular bird so that it could grow up and not be by itself, and also not be bullied and killed by birds that were too old to be with it. So that was an additional cost. The last little pheasant chick that hatched off, luckily the feed store had chicks. They were straight run though, and I suspect the 3 out of the 4 that we bought are roosters. They'll probably end up in a stew pot. So what am I going to do to remedy these situations? First of all, this winter I'm going to get parts and fix the incubators. Secondly, since I've established that the trays are very short for this hatcher, I'm seriously thinking about gutting it, since it runs good, and turning it into an auto turn cabinet incubator. I haven't quite decided, and I don't really know what I'm doing with that yet, so don't know if it's going to happen, but that's kind of where I'm leaning. And then I'll use this one just for hatching. And then these guys might just get packed up for, sentimental value for the next year. It all depends. Another thing is I'm considering using a different part of the house. The windows in this house tend to be a little drafty. We need to have someone come out and basically go through this place with us and see where all our drafts are coming from and whether or not the windows need replaced and that kind of thing. The other thing that's on my list is a generator. So at some point I will be purchasing some sort of generator for when these things happen. Right now I'm actually looking into the DeWalt battery bank for the 60 volt batteries, because then I could have it indoors as opposed to a gas generator. But it's pricey, especially when you consider you have to buy all the 60 volt batteries to go with it. But my cordless tools are all DeWalt and they run off of those batteries anyway, so it wouldn't be the worst thing to have those batteries, just as long as I always had 4 that were fully charged. Because that battery charger, this 4 battery charger, can be inverted and used as a generator, and it's cordless or you know, it can run itself is what I'm getting at indoors. So, yeah, not a successful year, but not all of them can be, and I hope everybody else has had a better year. And just remember, as long as you got something hatched, you got something to work with, right? So, thanks for watching. Thanks for being patient. I know I haven't been getting the videos uploaded as often as I used to. My current job that I took earlier this year is about a 6-day-a-week, 12 to 14-hour day job. So it's kind of hard for me to maintain a regular schedule with this. So please be patient with me. I will keep trying to get stuff uploaded. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. If you like our channel, tell people about us.